No DQ Galaxy. We are live with predictions for the 2024 AEW WrestleDream pay-per-view event in Tacoma, Washington. Now, I am riding solo tonight for predictions. I figured I'll just do this myself tonight and give you my thoughts on each match. I'm going to do something different since this is a solo video. I will be not only giving my overall excitement level for the show, but I will also be providing my overall excitement level for each individual match. A first time for predictions. Let's go ahead and get started. Chat room, feel free to leave your comments, leave your thoughts, and I will put up some of the comments on the screen. My overall excitement level for this show, I have to say it's towards the bottom. This actually might be the least hyped I've ever been for an AEW pay-per-view event. Matthew in the chat room says a 5 out of 10. I do tend to agree with him. The only reason I'm even remotely looking forward to this show is the fact that AEW always delivers on pay-per-view. They've never had a bad show. Even during the pandemic, the pay-per-views were always really good at the very least, often great. I have to go with a 5. Very mid hype for this show. I know it's going to be a great card, but I feel like most of these matches were thrown together with 2 weeks build, if that. Let's go ahead and discuss the matches. We have something like 11 matches confirmed. I'm just going with the matches that I have graphics for. Let's dig right in. And again, chat room, feel free to leave your predictions and overall thoughts on the show, and I will put some of the comments up on the screen. So we have a 2 out of 3 falls match. Hologram versus the Beast Moros. A luchador special. Hologram is Tony Khan's luchador project. He's undefeated right now. He's a flashy luchador. He could do some cool stuff, but this match literally was set up on Dynamite. You had Roosh and his crew, which consists of the Beast Mortis, coming out there, attacking Hologram, and that's what set this up. 2 out of 3 falls. I don't anticipate it being like 20 minutes or anything like that. I suspect it will move along fairly quickly, and I believe this is part of the main card. I know they have Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage for the ROH title as the 0-hour match, and they'll probably add more, but I think this is on the main card. Regardless, they have a graphic for it. I suspect it will be the usual 2 out of 3 fall formula. Beast will probably win the first one to have the advantage. Then Hologram will tie it up, and then Hologram will win the third round to be the overall winner. I will give this match excitement level 2 out of 10. I don't need this match on this card. I'd rather have a 3-hour match, or a 3-hour pay-per-view, I should say, and not have this match. And this is coming from somebody who drops $50 a pay-per-view. I don't need this on the show. I really don't. Let's move on here. Our next match is the Women's World Championship, Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. Another match that was set up on Dynamite. Willow Nightingale won a 4-way match to earn the title opportunity. Then they did an angle where Mariah May attacked her with her championship. And then backstage, Willow came back and attacked Mariah with a pounce. That was the build-up for this match. It's a filler match for Mariah, and I hate to say that because Willow Nightingale has really been doing well in AEW, but I feel like this is just another match for Mariah May. I feel like it was supposed to be Mariah May versus Britt Baker, but Britt was not on Dynamite. Match should be good. Slightly more excitement for this than the previous one. 4 out of 10. The old Bret Hart 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. And Mariah May wins this one. Not really expecting anything else to happen with this, other than it'll just be a solid match. Next up, we have the TNT Championship. Jack Perry defending his championship against Katsuyori Shibata. And this was a match that I believe was set up 2 weeks ago. I do not care. I have no interest in Shibata. I've never been a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan or whatever Japanese promotion he was in. I don't even know. That's how little I care. I really don't care about Jack Perry as the TNT champion. The scapegoat gimmick is, as MJF might put it, kind of mid. I really don't care about this one whatsoever. Jack Perry's a good wrestler. Shibata's gimmick is he's the wrestler. But I mean, you combine the two of these guys and they still maybe have half the charisma of your average person on the roster. So, I mean, Shibata has to use his iPhone's voice translator as his gimmick. It's goofy. Jack Perry wins. This could be on an episode of Collision or Rampage. It's like a 2 out of 10 for me. This is another one you do not need on the card, as far as I'm concerned. 2 out of 10. Sorry to fans of Shibata and Jack Perry. It'll be a good match. Don't really care about it, though. I could live without it. Speaking of matches I can live without, we got Mark Briscoe defending the Ring of Honor Championship, which is still a thing in 2024. I don't know why. We already have too many titles as it is. Mark Briscoe versus the Learning Tree Chris Jericho. I love Chris Jericho. He's had one of the greatest careers of all time, but I don't want to see him in 2024. I'm over Chris Jericho. Mark Briscoe should win this. I mean, wasn't Chris Jericho already Ring of Honor champion and he had that run? Like, this feels like a total waste of time. The ROH title should be retired. Chris Jericho should be retired. I mean, this one's, dare I say, maybe a 1 out of 10. I have no interest in seeing Chris Jericho wrestle. He's not needed at this point. The Learning Tree gimmick sucks. I feel kind of bad for Mark Briscoe because he's doing his own thing. His brother unfortunately passed away, and he's had a pretty good singles career, but the Ring of Honor title, it doesn't really mean anything. Ring of Honor died a couple of years ago. Tony Khan is just keeping it alive by name because, you know, he was a big fan of it growing up. Do not care about this match. Mark Briscoe wins. Chris Jericho's champion. Been there, done that. We don't need to see it again. All right, next up we have Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. Another match that was recently set up. They actually set it up last week, but they officially confirmed it this week. It feels like another filler match. I mean, there was a tease of maybe Jay White getting a push, and he's acting like he's going to try to go for the world title. But the thing is, I don't see Adam Page losing this. Adam Page just came off maybe the biggest win of his career at All Out, beating Swerve Strickland in the main event. How do you go from that to having Page lose to Jay White? Now, Jay White, the guy probably should have been utilized better when he first came into AEW. Having said that, at this point, I really don't care too much about it. I believe they have a history in New Japan, but I wasn't watching, so I have no emotional investment in this. The only thing it has going for it is I know with these two guys, they'll tear it up in the ring. So this one's all right. This is like a 5 out of 10 average excitement for it. It'll be a really good match, maybe even a great match. But hype wise, I'm just like whatever. I mean, this is definitely bigger than a Collision match, and you could argue it's bigger than most Dynamite main events. So it's a fairly big deal. The first match on this card so far that I've talked about, where I feel like it's somewhat worthy of being on the show. Next up, we had the Young Bucks versus Private Party for the AEW Tag Team titles. Should be a very exciting match. These guys do have history going back to the beginning of AEW Dynamite. Private Party beat them, but I don't see the Young Bucks dropping the titles to these guys. And then they did that angle where Stokely Hathaway was trying to recruit them, and they turned him down. So that will probably come back to bite them in the ass. Young Bucks retain. Match should be really good. I mean, you could say that pretty much about every match on the show, but 4 out of 10 excitement going in. Another one where if it wasn't on the show, I wouldn't feel sad. You know how some matches you're like, they got to put that on a pay-per-view. This is not one of those matches. Feels like a Dynamite match at best. When you look at these matches on the card, you got to ask yourself, is this a match that has a lot of buildup and should be on a pay-per-view? And so far, almost all these matches, my answer is no. All right, let's move on here. We got some more matches to discuss. We got Darby Allin versus Brody King. Yet another match thrown together at the last minute. Darby Allin issues an open challenge. Brody King accepts. They try to create a backstory saying that they were working together in the indies. They knew each other. Darby got him a job in AEW. And Darby thinks Brody is trying to take his spot as the face of AEW. Not really feeling this one too much. I guess they had a match 2 years ago, which I do not even remember. I think it might have been like around that Royal Rampage period. 4 out of 10. This one should be a lot of fun. Darby's going to take some crazy bumps. It's like a fun big man, little guy match. I think it'll be entertaining. But yeah, feels like a Dynamite match. Doesn't really feel like a pay-per-view quality match. Moving on here. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. So we got Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita. Triple threat match for the AEW International Championship. And as far as I'm concerned, this is probably going to be the match of the night. This is the first match that I can say deserves to be on the pay-per-view and is actually a pay-per-view worthy match. You know these guys are going to go hard. Konosuke Takeshita and Ospreay had a hell of a match when Ospreay first came into AEW. And I actually don't necessarily think that Ospreay will retain here. So this one's actually a match where I think it's anybody's game, because there's rumors about Konosuke Takeshita that they're finally going to try and pull the trigger on him and give him a big push. And you got Ricochet, who just came in, and you would think that he would be utilized and he would be put in a strong spot. Ospreay doesn't need the title. Ospreay should really be going for the world title at this point. I feel like the international title is beneath him when he's arguably the company's biggest star. This triple threat is a way for Ospreay to lose the title without taking the fall. So I think there's a pretty good chance we get a title change here. Takeshita could win it, and they could start pushing him and building him up. But for Ricochet to leave WWE and come to AEW, this would be a nice gesture to him. Hey, here you go. Here's the international title. We're pushing you. We're utilizing you. I'm going to say Ricochet wins, and Ricochet is going to beat Takeshita to win the title. And then you could always do another Ospreay Ricochet singles match for the title, or you could just have Ospreay move on and go for the world title, and maybe even Takeshita and Ricochet could feud for the title and do a singles match at some point. I'm going to say Ricochet wins the title. Excitement level, I'm going 9 out of 10 on this one. Like, to me, this actually has a lot of intrigue. You got the Don Callis family that could potentially be a factor. Maybe that could lead to Takeshita winning. This is the one match where I'm torn. I really don't have a strong pick for who I think is going to win the match. But it should be a hell of a match. And because I feel there's a little bit more of an unpredictability factor, yeah, I'm going 9 out of 10 for this one. This, to me, is the match that is worth the price of admission, the $50. We got, oh, wait, I screwed that up. We got a segment, Swerve Strickland returns. What do I think is going to happen here? Well, I suspect MVP is going to come out there with Shelton Benjamin, and there's going to be some kind of verbal confrontation. And I think this is where we are going to see the debut of Bobby Lashley. I feel like maybe MVP is going to make the hard sell, and Swerve is going to turn him down. And that's when Lashley's going to jump the ring, and Lashley's going to put Swerve in the hurt lock and leave him laying in Swerve's home state near his hometown of Seattle. Yeah, I think this is where we get the debut of Bobby Lashley, and should be a hot angle. All right, let's get to the main event of the evening. We got Bryan Danielson defending the World Championship against Jon Moxley, coming off the angle at All Out where Moxley put the plastic bag over Bryan's head. We still don't really know why Moxley is so angry at Bryan. Like, what pissed him off so much that he tried to murder the guy he's been teaming with for 2 or 3 years? Never really was explained. Moxley, goes off on these rants when he cuts these promos, and he's like, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to make you suffer. And this is for the greater good. Some crap like that. I don't know what's going on with this one. They're saying that if Bryan loses, that's the end of his full-time career. It's weird because they're not saying it's going to be his last match, but they're trying to make you think it might be. They're like, this could be the last time we see Bryan on Dynamite, even though they've made it clear he doesn't plan on fully retiring. So it's like they're not fully committing to it. It's not really a retirement match, but they want you to think, well, maybe it is going to be his last match. This will be a great match. It's the main event. Two veterans, 2 seasoned pros. It's going to be awesome. I mean, this will be neck and neck with the triple threat as far as match quality. The question is, will they have a big angle? Will we get Shane McMahon on this show? That's the question. That's what I'm intrigued about. Will Shane actually show up and be revealed as the guy who's pulling the strings here? I hope they have something so this all makes sense. I mean, that's really my hope. But hype-wise, I'm definitely intrigued by this one. Not quite as much as the triple threat. I do think Bryan... I sense Bryan will retain. I'll believe it when I see it as far as Shane McMahon goes. I just don't see Bryan losing in Tacoma, but you never know. I feel like Bryan's better off dropping the title to somebody who can benefit from the win. Moxley doesn't need it. Like, it should be Swerve or one of the guys you're trying to groom as the future of the company. Maybe another match with Ospreay. Something like that. I just don't feel like it should be Moxley. But then if Bryan wins, that's probably going to mean no Shane. But I'm not leaning towards that. Like, I still feel like I'll believe it when I see it. Also, another thing to think about, you got Full Gear coming up in November, and that's going to be in, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's, where is it, Newark, New Jersey, or Long Island, somewhere in that area. Somebody in the chat room, give me the location, but I believe it's in the New Jersey, New York area, from what I recall off the top of my head. That seems like a better place to debut Shane. Also, if Lashley is debuting on this show, I don't think you should have Lashley and Shane on the same show. You know, you want to focus on one big debut. I'm going to say Bryan retains, and if they are planning to bring in Shane, they're going to save it for the Full Gear pay-per-view in November. That is my guess. I say Bryan retains, and yeah, it's in Newark, New Jersey. So yeah, New York, Metro New York area. Bryan wins, gets the big moment in Tacoma, and we'll see where things go from there. Hype level for this, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I mean, it should be a hell of a match. I think it'll be great. And that and the triple threat, to me, are really carrying the show. Everything else is going to be good, but lackluster hype. Yeah, on paper, this is one of the weakest cards AEW has ever produced. And, that's part of the downside to having so many shows in a short period of time. And not only that, but they had the Dynamite 5-year anniversary show. They had Grand Slam. So, they were stacking those shows. And this one just doesn't feel like that big of a deal. I don't know if Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander is on the card or not. I don't have a graphic for it. If it is on the card, Mercedes Moné retains. But at this time, I don't even know if it's on the card. I believe they announced Mansoor and Madden against the Acclaimed, which might be a 0-hour match. Whether it is or isn't, I don't really care about it. I say the Acclaimed wins. I mean, don't really care too much about Mansoor and Mace at this point. So that's WrestleDream, everyone. NoDQ.com will have live coverage of it. Thank you all for watching the predictions video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Tell a friend about the NoDQ.com YouTube channel. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the latest news and rumors. Say yes to NoDQ. Have a great night, everyone, and I will see you all next time.